Hello, I'm Erin Palmer, Team Rayceen Productions co-host and moderator. And joining me is the goddess of DC, Rayceen Pendarvis.
Bam! Greetings and salutations, all.
Joining us is Ankit Jain. Welcome.
Thank you all. Thanks for having me. I'm so glad to be here.
Yeah, thank you for joining us. Before we talk about your 2024 general election campaign for DC Shadow Senator, please tell the viewers a little bit about yourself and about the position of Shadow Senator.
Yeah, well, my name is Ankit Jain. I'm the Democratic nominee for DC Shadow Senator. I'm a Ward 2 resident and I'm a voting rights attorney. I work with the organization Fair Vote to advance ranked choice voting across the country and to generally work on protecting minority voting rights. And so that has really was the impetus for my run for office as somebody who really truly believes in democracy, believes in the right to vote, and knowing that we don't have it here in Washington, D.C. And I thought I was a person who could help make that happen. And so that's kind of my background. Before I worked at Fair Vote, I worked at the Sierra Club doing environmental advocacy as well. And so then people, like you said, the first question I always get when I tell people I'm running is, what is a shadow senator? So shadow senators are our elected advocates for DC statehood fighting to protect our home rule and basically our elected lobbyists for our issues before the U.S. Senate. And I like to give people a specific example that helps them understand a little bit more about what we're talking about here. So just literally, I think a few hours ago, the Republican Party released their national platform, and it includes a call to take back federal control over Washington, D.C. And Donald Trump has been saying this for some time now, that he wants to do a quote federal takeover of D.C. And so I would be the main person fighting to stop that from happening, to helping working with the other shadow senators and shadow representatives to come up with the messaging and strategy, and taking the meetings with senators and their staff to get them to vote no on stuff like that or to vote yes on a statehood bill.
Great, thank you. Rayceen, you have the first question.
Yes, I do. Congratulations on being the Democratic Party nominee. What experience do you have that prepares you to take on this position?
Yeah, well, I talked about it a little bit before. So I worked previous to working at Fair Vote, I worked at the Sierra Club, and in that position, and then I currently work at Fair Vote. And so in both of those positions, I've organized numerous campaigns to advance important bills and regulations forward. And so I've had experience. I've kind of seen how the sausage gets made in that way, how what works in getting legislation passed and what doesn't work. Just as a one example, I helped write a bill for Boston to move to ranked choice voting, and that bill has been introduced in the city council, and we're very hopeful it'll be moving through the city council soon. When I was at the Sierra Club, we fought back against an effort by some industry officials to allow frack waste to be spread on roads as they called it a desalination or a salting mechanism, basically. And we thought that was incredibly unsafe and bad for public health, and we were able to beat back that bill. And so those, having been involved in those kinds of efforts and engage in legislative advocacy, I want to bring that experience to this position. And then also, my experience, I've been involved in the statehood effort for several years, been a sign distributor, going to rallies, talking to members of Congress and their staff on the statehood issue. And so bringing that experience with the cause and then with the nationwide advocacy efforts to this position of shadow senator.
Thank you. What do you hope to accomplish as DC's shadow senator, especially within the first year?
Yeah, I mean, obviously, I would love to make statehood happen. I think whether we can pass statehood or not depends on how the federal election goes to some degree. And we have some control over that, but we have limited control. So we have to deal with the cards that were played, play the cards we're handed, I should say. And so I think that whatever happens, I want to be our advocate for DC before Congress and make sure that we have an engaged and effective person who is actually, taken seriously and listened to by members of Congress and by senators, and who can help them understand why they should vote the way that we want them to vote. And if you want to talk, some specific things that I'm really hoping to accomplish, Democrats have a big pro-democracy bill that they've been pushing for many years now. And I would like to get DC statehood included in that bill because that is a bill that has really a lot of support within the party and within the Congress to get passed. And it's something that I think will move if we have the right Congress. And so if DC statehood is within that bill, I think that that's the best way to get DC statehood passed. So that's one of the things. Another thing, just a little bit on the governance side, uh, we have a budget. The statehood delegation controls a budget, and I want to make sure that it's spent effectively, that, taxpayer dollars are being used in the best possible manner, and that people have an understanding of where the money is actually going so that they can look at it and say, hey, maybe it shouldn't be used for this item, maybe it should be used for that item, and I'd be very open to feedback on that. And so trying to make sure that the money that the DC government is spending on statehood efforts is being used effectively.
Interesting. If you are elected in the general election in November, you will be the first person of Asian ancestry to win a citywide political contest in Washington, D.C. What are your thoughts on the importance of that?
Yeah, I think, everybody knows that DC is Chocolate City. And one of the things that I think people don't think about as much, but which is also true, is that DC is a city of immigrants. We have such a strong immigrant population in DC, and it's a community that hasn't gotten the representation that I think it should have up until now. We've never had, as far as I'm aware, a first or second generation immigrant on the city council. And I would be, as you mentioned, the first Asian citywide elected official, and only the second Asian elected official above the ANC level ever. And every community, I think, deserves representation. I'm really excited to represent all the communities. I mean, obviously, we have to make sure that DC's Chocolate City. I'm excited to represent the Black community, but we also have to make sure that that people who feel like they have not been represented for too long have that have somebody speaking for them. And so that's what I want to do. And I also, I want to make sure that people know that especially if you're a young girl or a young boy in the city who's not doesn't look like those who currently hold power, I hope that they can understand that they can do anything they want to do in the city. They can be anything they want to be. And that even if they might have a funny name or a different religion, that there's no reason that they can't run for office, that they can't represent the people of DC if they have good ideas and they're really speaking for people. And I hope that people see this and they think, hey, I can do this too. And I think that's really powerful. And I hope that people are watching and paying attention. I hope I can make people proud.
Thank you for that. As the Democratic nominee who is running unopposed in the general election, there is a presumption that you will be elected. For additional context, there was pretty low voter turnout in the primary election, and nationally, voter frustration and apathy is generally widespread. Can you share with our viewers why it is important in all 8 wards to vote, why it is important to vote in this race for DC Shadow Senator, and why it's important to vote for you?
Yeah, well, okay, so a few things. One is that I'm not totally sure I'm going to be unopposed. The Republicans could still nominate somebody. I think there's a few people trying to get on the ballot as independents. And so I'm not taking anything for granted. I'm sure I'm expecting someone to be on the ballot against me. And so I think it's important for people in DC to vote for someone who shares their values, right? I am somebody who truly believes in statehood, who believes in protecting people's right to choose, right to get abortions, fighting for stronger gun laws, fighting for more affordable housing, and fighting for things that us as Democrats, we really care about and want to prioritize. And I'm hoping that you'll choose me because I'm going to advance the issues that you care about more than anyone else running. I mean, if I'm running against a Republican, and I'm sure the Republicans will nominate somebody, you asked the question, the National Republican Party platform now includes a provision to take, more control over Washington, D.C. And I don't think we should have somebody representing us who potentially agrees with that platform, who wants to have the National Congress taking more control of us, who might sympathize with what people did on January 6th, where our city was violently attacked by a mob, an angry mob, and where people really suffered. A lot of our MPD officers were seriously injured, and where it kind of created a sense of fear in the city for a while. And I don't think that's who we want, somebody who thinks that that might have been okay or that might have been justified. I'm fighting to stop Congress and our president from being able to do things like that. And so that's why I hope you'll vote in this election and you'll vote for me, even assuming that I'm assuming I will have an opponent. Why is it important to vote in general in this election? Well, I think there's two reasons. One is that there is going to be some competitive races on the ballot in the general election. Our at-large races, there's always one seat that is reserved for somebody from the other party, and that's going to be a competitive election. So I hope you vote in that race to make your voice heard. There is likely to be at least one ballot initiative on the ballot. There might be more than one, and that's going to be competitive. And I think the most important reason that people in DC need to vote is because they're trying to take away our right to vote nationwide. They're trying to take away our ability to have our own local government, make our own decisions for ourselves. And if voting wasn't important, why would they be trying to take it away from us? We need to show people that how much we value the right to vote, because it is really under attack right now. I don't think it is an exaggeration to say that we're facing the greatest threats to our home rule since the passage of home rule. We have a Republican Party that has really put DC in its sights. And if this election goes badly, there's going to be a lot of a big fight ahead. And I'm excited to lead that fight and make sure that we win. But it is going to be a fight, and we need to make sure that people realize just how much we value that vote, and just how angry we're going to be if they try to take away from us, and how much we're going to fight back. And so I hope that people don't let the naysayers keep you away from the ballot box. Voting, a lot of people fought and died for our right to vote, and we need to exercise that right.
That's so important. And when does voting begin?
Yeah, so DC, everybody who's registered to vote will get mailed a ballot. The election day is November 5th, but that's the last day to vote. That's not the first day to vote in DC. And so you should be getting mailed your ballot sometime in October, maybe even in September. And so if you are not sure, if you moved recently, you're not sure where you're registered to vote, I encourage you to go to dcboe.org and check your voter registration and update it so that you get your ballot mailed to the right place. Once you get mailed your ballot, you can just fill it out in your own home and either put it in the mail or put it in a drop box. And then you can always vote in person, either early or on election day on November 5th. The only thing is, the one thing I'd say is that I would just make sure you register now, because then you get mailed a ballot, and it makes it even easier to vote. And one of the things that I notice is that people it's really valuable to have the ability to just put your ballot, open it up, and you go on your computer and search all the candidates and be like, hey, what does this candidate stand for? I might not have heard of them before, but you can Google them and find everything out. And so that's the way to vote. And the one last plug I will make is that if you are a non-citizen, you can vote now in local elections. You cannot vote for president or for my office, unfortunately. But if you've lived here for at least 30 days, and if you are not voting in another country, you can register to vote and vote in DC. I would encourage you to take that opportunity because you are, affected by the policies of the local DC government, whether it's the price of housing, whether it's crime, whether it's traffic. All of those things are issues that the DC Council and our local government decides, and you have the ability to make an impact now, and I hope you'll exercise that right.
Thank you for that important information. There are so many ways to vote. It's pretty convenient here in DC, and I hope folks will take advantage of that. Ankit, before we wrap up, please tell our viewers how they can learn more about you and support your campaign.
Yeah, so you can check out my website at Jain, JAIN4FORDC.com. You can find me on social media. I'm on Twitter, Instagram, Facebook, TikTok. You can find me at Ankit Jain DC on almost all of those platforms. I think on Facebook, I'd be Ankit Jain for DC Shadow Senator, but at Ankit Jain DC for most of those platforms. And you can follow me there. I post regular updates. And if you want to, if you want to be even, make sure you know everything that we're up to, on my website, you can sign up for our mailing list. And then we provide regular updates to our mailing list as well.
Viewers, please look in the description below for links. Ankit, thank you so much for joining us and spending some time with us today.
Yeah, glad to be here. Thanks for doing this work, and I hope people go out and vote in November.
Thank you.
Those watching, please follow Team Rayceen on social media and subscribe to the Team Rayceen YouTube channel.
And viewers, thank you for watching.